The Mazda Miata, or MX-5 or ND2. No matter what you call it, there's no denying there are two camps surrounding this thing. There's the smooth brains that say this is a chick car, and then there's the big brains that know, however, that this is the last samurai deserving of the utmost respect. So, we're gonna see what the last drop-top manual under $50,000 is like. Now, it was just last week that we got out of the closest competitor to this Miata, and that was the Toyota GR86. So what we're going to do for this video is cover what's new for 2022 with the Miata, but also make some comparisons to the 86 that we were just in.
Well, we'll start with the Miata though, and this should sound familiar because it's the same powertrain that we've had since the ND2 arrived in 2019. What we have here is a reworked 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated. We have a 6-speed manual gearbox, the obvious way you'd want this thing, and then power to the rear.
A sports car, true enough, but this, at least from my understanding right now, is the least powerful new car on sale today that subscribes to this formula. The naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder makes 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. So it's not exactly like it's going to rip your face off from a dig. 0 to 60 is good for about 6.5 seconds, and that's of course with the hardtop RF trim and the manual gearbox. So it's about the heaviest Miata that you'll be able to get.
So what this car needs to do is make the most of the power, and it does a really good job at that. You have a Torsen LSD in the rear to try and get all that power to the ground and ensure that none of it goes to waste. Interestingly though, the GT trim only gets the LSD in the manual transmission. The Club also gets an LSD, but the sports trim does not. So in theory, if you wanted the fastest Miata, you would want to get a soft top Club.
A good suspension system is also really crucial in terms of making use of all of the power that the engine makes. And it's good news here. You've got a dual wishbone front suspension up here with monotube Bilstein dampers. It's a really good sophisticated front end suspension, and what that results in is a really good and bitey front end. And then out the back you have an LSD, of course, managing your torque split to either wheel, but you also have an aluminum multi-link rear suspension setup with the monotube Bilstein dampers in the back as well. So it's making the use of all of that power. However, it doesn't just stop there. For 2022 here, Mazda has introduced something that they're calling KPC, or Kinematic Posture Control.
What it does essentially is brake the inner rear wheel during high-speed cornering, and that results in a pull-down effect on that inside wheel. And while you're driving, the pilot, basically you experience less body roll.
It works really well then in tandem with the LSD out back, managing that torque split and making sure that power gets to that outside wheel to help the car rotate through a corner. It's a lot more disciplined and it's a lot more capable feeling on the road, but it doesn't lose that Miata personality, that very carefree, a little bit floaty, and pretty fun characteristic behind the wheel.
And as we said at the beginning of this video, we are going to do some comparison to the 86 since we just got out of that last week. And I think I'll kind of touch on the handling aspect of it. In this Miata with the KPC system, it does feel a bit more aggressive, but it still has that traditional Miata feel. It's still playful and it still enjoys a windy road, and it's definitely less aggressive than the 86. I think the 86 just focused so much on lateral grip, and you felt that in how the suspension was set up, how damped the suspension was, and their tire selection as well.
So when I start to slow down and think about how this compares in terms of the 86, They're similar prices, and there's similar formulas, one obviously without a roof or one with a fixed roof, but it's easy to make that comparison in that way. But when you really sit down and think about it, the personalities behind the wheels of these cars are incredibly different. That 86 is so raw. It's so much about maximizing the performance that you can get out of that platform. Everything from, you know, the LSD in the back to the really aggressive Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires and the Alcantara interior and the gauge cluster, the way it shifts. Like, everything is about the experience. Everything is there to kind of get you to think that you're on the ragged edge of performance, and there's something really beneficial about that. However, when we start to think about this Miata, it's a totally different vibe. The interior is so much more upscale. The stitching is more exquisite. It's just a more relaxed and refined type of thing, where the interior on the 86 is kind of, you know, nudging you in the ribs saying, come on, drive me fast. The Miata's like, we can hang out, we can drive fast, we can have a good time, we can do whatever you want, because I can do it all, except bring anything with you. And I think with that, it's probably a good time to chat with Paulo. Oh, okay. It's still a Miata, both in terms of getting out and in terms of the way that it looks. It's still got the non-threatening, smiley, happy face, and it's got a new color this year. So this is Platinum Quartz Metallic. This and black are the only free color options that you can get.
I really don't like this color too much. But
you don't like champagne poppy?
No, I think I prefer black. But yeah, I mean, you still have, you know, the same front fascia that we've had for a few years now. You have your incredibly long hood.
Yeah, around the side you've got your 8-spoke gunmetal wheels wrapped in, according to the window sticker, high-performance tires, which are another Bridgestone Potenza. Mazda loves their Bridgestone, but hey,
I like the OEMs.
Cool. It's not bad.
The OEM wheels.
The wheels look good, yeah,
and then
I think so.
Side profile, you know, you have your typical, I guess, Miata race car look here.
Yeah.
We have the RF, which is basically the hardtop. So you sacrifice a little bit of trunk space, but you get a hardtop, which is actually black.
Yeah, it's a little bit quieter. It's nice. You get this really flat, long deck out the back then, with your little shark fin spoiler, which is kind of cool. But the rear is pretty typical. You've got your reversing camera just in the middle of the bumper.
I mean, it is kind of aligned in the center, so I like that.
I mean, it makes sense.
The trunk release button is literally by my ankle on the right side, so it's pretty low.
Yes, if you have back problems or knee problems, do not buy this car. That is consumer advice.
And similar to the GR86, the hood and the trunk are made out of aluminum. Obviously, weight reduction, lower the center of gravity. Yeah. The engine block and the headers are also...
Cylinder heads, yep.
Cylinder heads are also made out of aluminum as well to try and reduce that weight.
Yeah, which of course is undone by the hardtop.
Yes,
but hey, I mean,
case.
Everything in balance.
Yes,
everything
exactly.
in balance.
The hardtop looks the best, I think.
It does, I agree. And especially down, I think it looks good.
Yes.
So, jump inside?
Yes, let's do that.
Ooh, that was a good one.
So I think, you know, when you get in here, I think the first thing people would want to talk about is space. And yeah, we'll get to that.
Or the lack thereof.
The lack thereof, yes. But I think my first impression is I'm just overwhelmed with how my visibility is so drastically reduced with kind of where our eyesight lines up in tandem with this window frame.
If you want to see anything behind here, I physically have to duck my head down.
And even like, I mean, this is, if I were to sit properly, but anyway,
chiropractor doesn't like this car.
Going back to the storage thing, you don't have a glove box. You do have a very small center console where you could keep a garage door opener or a harmonica.
Keep that thing.
Keep that thing on me.
I'll stay heated up.
You have another little storage area between the two drivers, or the two seats here, and I think that could kind of replace your glove box. So, not the most room. You have some room here for your phone that you could put in here, but
yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's really pretty claustrophobic. Like, for me to be in here alone, or for you to be in here alone, is one thing, but for us to both be in here it feels pretty tight.
Yeah.
The seats themselves, they're pretty comfy, but like you said, we're maxed out. Like, we're as far back as you can sit, and we're as low as you can sit, and the seats as far, you know, leaned back as it can be. And if you're anything over 6'2", it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think this is for people that are 6 feet or less.
Yeah. In front of you, though, you got a steering wheel. It's pretty big diameter, actually, but it's pretty thin, just kind of like the 86. And then in front of that, you've got a kind of digital gauge cluster. Your left pod side is digital, so you get some information. And then you've got this digital readout of what gear you're in, which is super fun because you can be at 1,500 RPM in second gear, and it'll tell you to shift up to fifth.
No, sixth. Yeah, it's like go to sixth all the time for some
Just
reason.
like fuel economy is
great. Yeah, and
the primary enemy.
Awesome power there when you're in sixth gear at 25 miles an hour. Infotainment, it's pretty small, but it does have wireless Apple CarPlay, which is nice. 7-inch
That's
screen.
a big one. I don't think it has wireless Android Auto. I think it's just wireless CarPlay.
I'm not sure because we both have iPhones, like
real people.
Well, I feel like there's a big Android community out there, but
they're poor. Who cares about them?
Wow. I don't think you could say
demonetized. Continue. What were you going to say?
Yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, iDrive style wheel right here to control your infotainment system.
I'm used to it.
You can touch it at a standstill.
Yeah.
I didn't. Did you validate that? Okay, cool. Glad one of us does real journalism here.
One of us does real tests. Couple things. You don't have cup holders per se, but you have ones that snap in.
Yeah, here or back
here. This one back here makes sense. This one here, can't be in if you're going to be in here.
Right.
Because your knee is going to hit it.
Yeah, you can't have the one right kind of below where your glove box would be if you had one.
Right. Here you do have 3-level heated seats, which is nice. And then the last thing that I guess I'll mention is the top toggle. So obviously we have the RF, which is the power top. And this thing will go up or down in 13 seconds, and you can use it up to 6 miles an hour.
Yeah, I actually
But don't do that, because to get up to 6 miles an hour, you have to be in third gear. So you can't be steering, top operating, and shifting at the same time.
I did it when I was...
You were top rating?
Yeah, I was top rating.
Don't top rate.
I was at a light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
At a standstill
I was going pretty slow.
Okay.
I think one comment though, compared to the 86, let's just do quick comparison.
Yes.
I think that's obviously more luxe in here.
Yes,
I personally prefer the 86 interior. This does have really nice stitching, and the seat color is great. Stitching. But I like some of the Alcantara in the 86, and kind of just how more race car it felt with the red digital HVAC controls and things like that. The one thing I do like in here more though is the shifter. It's not a short shifter per se, but it's definitely a lot shorter than the 86.
Throw. Yeah, I love this. This is so much better.
Yeah.
And the pedal box I think I like better too. It's easier to heel and toe in here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do like that. I know the racy thing in the 86 makes sense for that car, and this interior makes sense for the personality of this car. Personally, I lean towards this just because it's more comfortable and I spend more time on the road than on the track, but I can definitely see why someone would prefer the 86 interior.
Yeah, but I feel like the first thing though is comfort and room, and this just doesn't have it for someone that's above 6 feet tall.
Yes.
So, final thoughts?
Let's do it.
Cool.
So that's the latest Mazda Miata. It's the highest performance Miata there's ever been, but it's still inherently Miata. And that's a good thing. There's a simple, carefree, fun feeling to this car. It's not burdened by high performance expectations or the need to be super luxurious or pack a bunch of features. The Miata is a great car to drive, now more than ever. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.